Chapter 06. Veldanova's POV. As the meeting concluded and the formalities gave way to more personal exchanges, I watched Velgrind, Rudra, and Lucia as they prepared to take their leave. The meeting had unfolded as I anticipated, each of them playing their roles to perfection. But as Velgrind moved to depart, I caught a fleeting glimpse of something in her eyes, a spark of resolve, a determination that stirred a sense of curiosity within me. It was subtle, barely noticeable, yet undeniable. She mentioned wanting to speak with Rimuru, and though the words were casually spoken, they held weight. I simply nodded, acknowledging her intent. The bond they shared, complex and layered, was beyond my interference. As they turned to leave, my thoughts drifted toward my own destination, the ice continent, where Velzard and Guy Crimson awaited. The chill of the north had always been a place of solitude and reflection for me, a stark contrast to the warmth I had come to know with Lucia. Time moved differently for beings like us, but the responsibilities, the burdens we carried, were eternal. The cold winds of the north called to me, their familiar bite a reminder of what awaited. Yet, even as I prepared for the journey, I couldn't shake the image of Velgrind's eyes, the resolve that simmered beneath the surface. She returned after a brief absence, and with a final exchange of farewells, they departed. As their presence faded into the distance, the quiet of the mountain settled around me once more. Alone with my thoughts, I allowed myself a moment of stillness before taking my leave. The north awaited, and with it, the cold clarity that I often sought in its embrace. Rimuru's POV. As Big Brother Veldanova and the others vanished from sight, leaving behind only the lingering echoes of their power, I turned to Seal, my ever-present companion and confidant. There was a certain comfort in her presence, a sense of knowing that whatever challenge lay ahead, she would face it with me. Seal, about the mission, I began, the anticipation barely masked in my voice. Did you find someone? A small, knowing smile curved her lips as she nodded. Yes, Master. The grin that spread across my face was one of pure satisfaction. So, you found it, huh? All right, let's go meet them. With that, we ascended into the sky, the wind rushing past us as we soared westward towards the God's Mountain. Or more specifically, the western edge of the vast forest that surrounded it, a place where dragons roamed, where fire and ice clashed in a never-ending dance of primal fury. The very thought of it sent a thrill through me, the anticipation of what was to come stirring my blood. Big Brother had forbidden me from leaving the area, but within its boundaries, I had all the freedom I needed. And that was more than enough for what I had planned. Our destination was a battlefield unlike any other, a place where the elemental forces of fire and ice had torn through the land, leaving a landscape of devastation in their wake. As we arrived, the aftermath of the battle was evident in the charred and frozen remains of the forest. On one side, the fire-type dragon's fury had scorched the earth, turning trees to ash and leaving the ground cracked and blackened. On the other, the ice-type dragon's wrath had encased the forest in ice, freezing everything in its path. Where the two forces had met, the land was a chaotic blend of scorched earth and icy formations, steam rising where fire and ice had clashed. I took in the scene with a critical eye, assessing the damage and the power that had caused it. Judging from the extent of the destruction, I'd classify this as at least disaster class, I murmured. Yes, Seal confirmed, her voice calm and composed as always, yet carrying an undercurrent of concern. A broad grin spread across my face, the thrill of the challenge making my heart race. That's exactly what I wanted. Well done, Seal. She inclined her head slightly, a modest smile playing at the corners of her lips. I am not worthy of such praise, Master, but thank you. I waved off her humility, my focus already shifting to the task at hand. Seal, stay out of the fight. I want these dragons to serve under me. Her expression turned serious as she bowed in respect. As you command, Master. With that, I descended toward the battlefield, the anticipation thrumming through me like a live wire. My mind raced with possibilities, each one more exciting than the last. These dragons, these powerful, untamed creatures would be formidable allies, but first, they needed to be brought to heel. As I landed before them, the fire-type dragon let out a low, rumbling growl, its eyes burning with a fierce, unyielding hostility. The ice-type dragon, in contrast, regarded me with a cold, calculating gaze, its breath turning the air frigid. There was no fear in their eyes, only the primal instincts of beings who had known nothing but power and dominance. I'll make this simple, I said, my voice carrying a mix of arrogance and amusement. Serve under me, and you might just live to see another day. The fire-type dragon roared in defiance, flames flickering along its massive body, while the ice-type dragon's breath grew colder, its disdain for me palpable. It was clear they had no intention of submitting without a fight. So, that's how it's going to be, I murmured, a playful smirk tugging at my lips. Fine by me, let's see what you're made of. The battle, Rimuru's pav. The battle erupted in an instant, the dragons attacking with a ferocity that was both terrifying and exhilarating. The fire-type dragon unleashed a torrent of flames, turning the air around us into a blazing inferno, while the ice-type dragon summoned a storm of ice shards, each one sharp enough to slice through steel. I moved with lightning speed, darting between the attacks, the heat of the flames and the chill of the ice brushing past me as I narrowly avoided being roasted alive or frozen solid. The intensity of their combined assault was staggering, and for a moment, I found myself struggling to keep up, the sheer power of their attacks pushing me to my limits. But retreat was not an option. My pride wouldn't allow it. Seal, analysis, I ordered through our mental link, my mind racing as I searched for a weakness in their onslaught. Both dragons possess power nearing the peak of disaster class. Their coordination is formidable, but there are weaknesses, Seal responded, her voice calm and precise, a steadying presence in the midst of chaos. Good, I muttered, my mind latching onto her words like a lifeline. The battle was pushing me to my limits, my magic reserves depleting faster than I liked, but I refused to give in. Then, amidst the chaos, a sudden clarity washed over me, a moment of pure, unfiltered insight. And with it came a voice, clear and commanding. Unique skill void acquired. A rush of power surged through me, a dark, exhilarating force that filled every corner of my being. A wicked grin spread across my face as I felt the newfound strength coursing through me. Looks like I just found my edge. With renewed confidence, I launched a counterattack. Summoning the power of my newly acquired void skill, I created spheres of pure nothingness, hurling them at the dragons with deadly precision. The void attacks cut through the air like knives, consuming everything in their path. The fire-type dragon's flames were snuffed out as if they had never existed, while the ice-type dragon's frost shattered like fragile glass. The dragons roared, in fury, their primal instincts urging them to fight on, but I could see the fear beginning to creep into their eyes. They had underestimated me, and now they were paying the price. Let's turn up the heat, shall we? I taunted, my voice dripping with arrogance as I unleashed a barrage of void attacks. Each one struck with lethal precision, wearing down the dragons bit by bit. But they were resilient, and the battle dragged on, neither side willing to give an inch. For 12 grueling hours, we clashed, the forest around us transforming into a war-torn wasteland. The fire-type dragon attempted to incinerate me with a massive fireball, but I countered with a void sphere, the two forces colliding in a violent explosion that shook the earth. The ice-type dragon tried to encase me in a barrier of ice, but I shattered it with a pulse of void energy, turning the ice to nothingness. Despite their ferocity, I could feel the tides of battle shifting in my favor. With each passing moment, I became more adept at wielding my new power, and the dragon's attacks grew weaker, their movements slower and more desperate. Finally, with one last, devastating void attack, I struck them both down. The fire-type dragon's flames flickered out, and the ice-type dragon's frost melted away, leaving them both battered, beaten, and at my mercy. Panting from exertion, but filled with a sense of triumph, I approached the fallen dragons. Now, do you understand? I said, my voice low and commanding, every word carrying the weight of undeniable authority. You have two choices: serve under me, or be erased from existence. The dragons, too exhausted to resist any longer, lowered their heads in submission. I grinned, the thrill of victory coursing through me like a drug. Good choice, I said, my tone light but with an edge of satisfaction. The weight of the moment settled in as the dragons bowed their heads, their massive forms humbled before me. They had fought with everything they had, their pride and power fueling a relentless assault, but in the end, it wasn't enough. I had emerged victorious, and they now belonged to me. As they swore their allegiance, I could feel the connection between us solidifying, a bond forged through battle and submission. These dragons would be powerful allies, beasts of immense strength and unyielding loyalty. With them under my command, my own power would only grow, and the possibilities seemed endless. But it wasn't just about gaining new subordinates. These dragons would be something more: a challenge, a test of my own abilities, and perhaps even a means to push myself to new heights. I turned to Seal, who had observed the entire battle from a distance, her expression unreadable. The way she watched me, with that serene, almost knowing gaze, always held a depth that was difficult to fathom. She had seen everything, yet she remained as composed as ever. You did well, I said, my voice softer now, a rare note of gratitude lacing my words. There was something about the way Seal stood by me, always present, always dependable, that stirred a deeper connection within me. It went beyond mere loyalty, it was a bond that had been forged through countless trials and challenges. Seal bowed her head slightly, her eyes meeting mine with a look that spoke volumes: pride, respect, and something more profound that words couldn't capture. "It is an honor to serve you, Master," she said, her voice calm and sincere. Her humility, while genuine, carried a weight that resonated with me. Seal had been with me from the beginning, guiding me, advising me, and supporting me through every step of my journey. In that moment, I felt a deep sense of appreciation for her and understanding that our bond was something unique, something that had grown stronger with every trial we faced together. "Let's head back," I said, my voice carrying a note of finality. The battle was over, but our work was far from done. There were plans to be made, alliances to forge, and power to amass. The path ahead was clear, and I was determined to walk it with confidence and resolve. As we ascended into the sky, the two dragons following at a respectful distance, I cast one last glance at the battlefield below. The forest, though ravaged, would recover in time, just as I would continue to grow and evolve. Today, I had proven my strength not just to the dragons, but to myself. Each victory, each battle, was a step forward, a step closer to achieving the power and influence I sought. As we flew back towards the heart of the God's Mountain, the cold wind whipping past us, I couldn't help but feel a sense of anticipation, a burning desire to see what the future held. The thrill of victory still coursed through me, but it was more than that. It was the excitement of the unknown, the challenge of facing whatever came next, and the knowledge that I was ready for it. This was just the beginning. With Seal by my side and my new subordinates at my command, I knew that the path ahead would be filled with trials, but I welcomed them. Every challenge was an opportunity to grow, to prove myself, and to leave my mark on this world. As we neared the God's Mountain, I allowed myself a moment of reflection. The journey ahead would not be easy, but I was ready. I had the strength, the resolve, and the support of those who believed in me. With them, I would build something greater, something that could stand against the very forces that shaped our world. And as we descended towards the heart of the mountain, I felt a deep sense of purpose, a burning determination to carve out a legacy that would be remembered for eternity. This was my path, my destiny, and I would see it through to the end. Third-person POV. Time, ever relentless, flowed on like a vast river, sweeping away the days, years, decades, and eventually centuries. The world changed, landscapes shifted, and civilizations rose and fell. Yet amidst the inevitable march of time, a few constants remained: Veldanava, the Star King Dragon, and the family he had grown to cherish above all else. As nearly 3.95 centuries passed, Veldanava found himself more entwined with his family than ever before. No longer just the distant god watching over creation, he became a husband, a brother, and a man who found joy in the simple, fleeting moments of mortal life. The bond between him and Lucia deepened with every shared experience. Their journeys across the world were not just about exploration, but about discovery of each other, of the world, and of what it meant to truly live. Together, they had wandered through ancient forests, crossed endless seas, and witnessed the birth of stars. They had seen the beauty and the tragedy of life, and through it all, Veldanava began to understand the weight of the world he had created. Eventually, the couple chose to settle down, to carve out a life for themselves that was ordinary, yet extraordinary in its simplicity. It was in these years of quietude that Veldanava found a peace he had not known before, a peace that came from being truly present, not as a god, but as a husband and brother. In parallel, Rimuru was undergoing a transformation of his own. The playful and curious being that once marveled at the world with childlike wonder had evolved into a figure of unmatched charisma and confidence. Rimuru's power had grown exponentially, and with it came an awareness of his abilities that bordered on arrogance. He moved through life with a relaxed, almost nonchalant attitude, secure in the knowledge that few could rival him. This self-assuredness often manifested as a brash, sometimes dismissive demeanor, particularly towards those outside his close circle. Yet beneath the surface, Rimuru was driven by a deep sense of responsibility, a desire to shape the world into something better, to protect those he cared about, and to forge a future where strength and wisdom walked hand in hand. His evolution was not just one of power, but of purpose. His confidence, while sometimes overwhelming, was rooted in a genuine concern for the world and those within it. Today, atop the revered God's Mountain, preparations were underway for a gathering unlike any other. A grand table was set, surrounded by intricately carved chairs, each representing a seat of power and influence. The air was thick with anticipation, for the one who had summoned this assembly was none other than Veldanava himself. He sat at the head of the table, his arms crossed and his eyes closed, the weight of countless millennia resting on his shoulders. One by one, the invited guests arrived, their presence heralded by the subtle shifts in the atmosphere. Feldway, the first of the 7 angels of origin, was the first to appear. His arrival was marked by a serene, almost ethereal calm, his divine nature evident in every step he took. Moments later, the air crackled with an almost palpable energy as Guy Crimson, the first true demon lord and mediator of the world, made his entrance. His aura was one of barely restrained power, a reminder of the primordial forces that governed the world. Following him was Velzard, the frost dragon and ice empress, whose arrival brought with it a chill that seemed to freeze the very air. Her gaze was as cold as her domain, yet within her icy demeanor lay a fierce loyalty and an unyielding strength. Next was Rudra Nam Al Nazca, the emperor of the Eastern Empire and true chosen hero, whose presence was commanding and regal, exuding the authority of one who had led nations and shaped history. By his side was Lucia, her quiet grace a stark contrast to her brother's imperial bearing. Finally, Velgrind, the scorched dragon, entered the chamber, her fiery presence a burning contrast to her sister's frost. Each took their designated seats, their eyes collectively turning towards Veldanava, who remained silent, his eyes still closed. Veldanava's pav. The room was silent, the air thick with the weight of expectations. I could feel their gazes, each one heavy with anticipation, curiosity, and perhaps a touch of impatience. Slowly, I opened my eyes, and the room seemed to still even further. They greeted me with the respect due to a god, each taking their place at the table. Yet I could see the unspoken question in their eyes: why had I not begun? I let the silence linger, a deliberate choice to allow them a moment to settle, to feel the gravity of what was to come. When I finally spoke, my voice was calm, carrying the authority that came naturally to me. Some individuals are missing, we will hold off until they return. The words hung in the air for a moment, met with a mix of acknowledgement and silent resignation. My role as the Star King Dragon demanded patience, and so I closed my eyes once more, sinking back into the quiet wait, allowing my mind to drift, yet remaining ever vigilant. Third-person Pav. Far from the serene gathering on the mountain, within the dense, untamed forest that surrounded it, the aftermath of a brutal battle lay scattered across the ground. Corpses of monsters, their forms twisted and broken, littered the earth, a grim testament to the power that had been unleashed here. Atop a pile of these lifeless bodies sat a figure, their long, silver-violet hair cascading down their back like a waterfall of moonlight. Even in repose, their form radiated a majesty that was undeniable. They sat in a meditative pose, their eyes closed, their breathing calm and measured, as if the carnage beneath them was of no consequence. The stillness of the scene was broken only by the approach of 3 figures, their steps quiet yet purposeful. One of them, their voice soft yet filled with reverence, spoke. "Master, it is time." The meditating figure did not move at first, the words hanging in the air like a delicate thread. Then, slowly, they opened their eyes, revealing orbs of molten gold that seemed to pierce through the very soul. The expression on their face was one of quiet contemplation, but as realization dawned, a smile spread across their lips, a smile that was equal parts anticipation and satisfaction. Rising from their position, the figure exuded an aura of overwhelming presence. Their golden eyes gleamed with a light that was both inviting and dangerous, promising power beyond comprehension. "So, it is time, huh?" they murmured, the smile broadening into one of pure, unrestrained delight. With a final glance at the battlefield they were leaving behind, the figure turned, their movements graceful yet brimming with latent power. As they began their journey towards the gathering atop God's mountain, the forest seemed to sigh in relief, as if the very earth had been holding its breath in the presence of such a being. The figure moved with purpose, each step bringing them closer to the convergence of power and fate that awaited them. And as they walked, the world itself seemed to bend around them, acknowledging the force that was now in motion, a force that would soon shake the foundations of reality itself. To be continued.